You're listening to Driving Sales, the Dealership AI Advantage podcast. This is the show where we unpack how technology, and especially AI, is transforming the dealership game and what you can do to stay ahead of the curve. I'm Celio Ramos. I'm a husband, a father, a sales enthusiast, and tech nerd, best known for not being known at all. I'm here to sit down with industry insiders, from showroom veterans to tech innovators, to dig into their stories, strategies, and the tools driving the future of sales. Buckle up and let's hit the road. What's going on, everyone? Welcome to the first episode of Driving Sales, the Dealership AI Advantage podcast. I'm super excited. I think it's very fitting that I have the guest I have here today. Our AI specialist. I'm learning so much from this guy. He runs an awesome school community. He focuses on automations and a few other cool things. I'm going to let him talk about it. Jack Roberts. Jack, how you doing? Thank you very much for being here. Tell us a little bit about yourself and what we can expect.
Well, first of all, thanks for having me on. That's very generous of you. So a little bit about me. I run the largest paid AI automations community on the planet. I built a 7-figure AI automation business in the last 12 months. Before that, I sold and exited a tech startup, and I've helped thousands of business owners crush it with AI. So all I do every day is AI automations and drink coffee. So those two things, you'll find me doing one of the two, I think.
Nice. Those are the things that we need. Coffee more than anything. I have mine. I hope you have yours. I'm excited. I'm so thankful for you to say yes to being part of this journey. I myself, as you know, trying to bring value to the dealership space, right, with AI automations. I want you to talk a little bit about what you see in the business world. I see on my end here, it seems like people they're catching up, but I think some industries are catching up not as fast as other industries, right? When it comes to the implementation of AI and using these amazing tools that are really changing the game for a lot of businesses, especially small to mid-sized businesses. So what you see happening, how it's AI affecting, and how are people receiving this new technology?
I think this is something we see internationally, right? So let's talk thousands of business about this sort of stuff. Generally speaking, people are not adopting it anywhere near its potential. And I see this anecdotally, and I see this everywhere I go. If you're watching this podcast, you might be somebody that's into AI. It's really easy to think that everybody knows about this stuff. And it's mainly because your circle knows about it. In reality, most people don't know how to spell AI. I was at the dentist a few months ago, and my dentist said to me, "Hey, Jack, have you ever heard of ChatGPT?" I said, "I've never heard of it. What is it?" And she said she couldn't believe it. And she's degree educated, very smart. And she had no idea. I have so many personal examples about this, as well as like everyone I know has had these examples. And we also see that reflected in data. So that's to say, general awareness and adoption is really low. The gap between the value that can be delivered and what's actually getting done is huge. And it's only getting larger at the moment because the technology innovation curve that basically dictates, are you an early adopter? Are you a early majority, late majority, laggard, etc., is always getting pushed back to the left. So I just have to say, like, what I'm seeing is that people are barely scratching the surface with the basics. If all you ever did was the basics, there's so much really low-hanging fruit on the table for a lot of people and businesses that are leaving a lot of money on the table with this stuff.
100%. I can relate to that because I know people, it seems like the business owners and the dealer principals, the professionals that I deal with, they heard of ChatGPT, but it's like a search engine almost for them, right? It's a very smart search engine. And what do you think can be done to help these owners and principals to catch up, right? And kind of be informed and know what to do and implement AI in a very smart way into their operations. How they should go about it to make sure that they're making the right decision or minimizing risk.
Not having an AI strategy is kind of like not having a website with 2000, but it's 10 times worse. The other thing is its impacts are only going to grow. So if you don't really know where you're starting with AI, you yourself as a business owner need to educate yourself on just so you have a view of, you don't necessarily need to know how to build automations. You can hire people to do that, like work with people like yourself. But actually, you do need to understand the landscape. You need to understand the art of what's possible because you need that basic level understanding. One of the best places to get educated about what AI can do. And the thing is, like, you'll see if you're on Instagram, lots of things about what I call, bells and whistles, flashing lights about this new image generator, this new video generator. I'll tell you right now, most of it is kind of like froth and noise. The actual stuff that will make a substantive impact to your business is relatively simple stuff. And a lot of that content is on YouTube. So start going down the rabbit hole, start learning it. And I think if you're a business that's making, I don't know, say if you're north of say 7 figures a year, it's almost certainly in your best interest to actually work with an automation specialist to come in and do some strategic consulting to understand where your gaps are. Because oftentimes, as you start to scale up beyond that 7-figure mark, the actual value that's on the table is significant. So start to educate yourself and get experts around you to start implementing some of the opportunities. Yeah.
Let me ask you a question. You've been at it for years now. You have a lot of experience. I mean, you are experiencing and will continue to experience much more what the average business owner is experiencing or seeing out there. What you believe it's some pitfalls or some mistakes that business owners should be looking for, and make sure that they are not. Again, minimizing risks when it comes to partnering up with people, because in times like this, when new technologies are presented, right, it's kind of the NFT thing. Everybody was launching their NFTs. They have all these projects that are going to change people's lives. And we see now a lot of AI specialists, quote unquote specialists, experts, presenting themselves. But the technology is so new, a lot of people don't have the opportunity to have developed clientele or developing their case studies. And I believe that business owners need to be aware of that. So what do you think their approach, their take should be as far as taking that first step and implementing AI into their process?
Well, I'm a big believer in the value difficulty matrix, which essentially is to say, great, there's a million things we can do. What actually is, first of all, as a business, our constraining factors? So what is the reason why we can't scale? If you and I are building cars, for example, we can produce 100 doors a day, 500 chassis, but oh my gosh, we can produce only one engine. It doesn't really matter how great you are at making tires. We're only ever going to get one car out a day, right? So businesses need to understand fundamentally your largest constraining factor, okay? And from a strategic perspective, that's what you need to obliterate. And when it comes to the AI application to that, you've really got to think about, where are the holes? But of the 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 things that we can do, what will drive the highest value and be the easiest to implement? So if you imagine a matrix, you rank everything between 1 to 10 on how valuable the thing is, and then 1 to 10 on how difficult the thing is to deliver. You want to target those high value, low difficulty tasks and problems first, and then do an 80-20 split with your high value, high difficulty, low value, easy difficulty. And then your kind of low value, hard difficulty stuff sits for another day. So you kind of want to be strategic about that. If I think about the sorts of stuff that most businesses are implementing, like just to give you a little bit of tactical stuff, chatbots are very popular. Voice AI is very underutilized. Think about the journey for your customer. How can you automate the onboarding process? How can you eliminate the need for certain kinds of roles? Most of it tends to center around ultimately driving a number, either more sales or kind of making that experience better. But there's a billion things you can do. That's why you need some kind of like awareness of where to get started.
Really look for some kind of expertise, right, and talk to someone. And it's really about customizing the solution at this point to the problems and the world that they live in, the problems that they're experiencing, right?
Yes.
For most of the business owners that you are working with, what is, I think is important, do you see a need to differentiate AI from the automation implementation, right? Because people hear AI and they're kind of turned off a little bit because they believe that it's a robot. They don't want a robot talking to their customers. They don't think about the automation step, kind of taking these type of tasks that can be easily turned into simple steps and be automated, where you're still gonna have a human involved with the process, right? So if it makes sense, what I'm asking is kind of like break down if there is a difference, how you would present this difference between AI, bringing AI into the process, and bringing automation into the process when talking to business owners out there.
Yeah, so I would say that one of the biggest drawbacks people do is to automate something that quite clearly should just not exist in the first place. So you can separate our AI and automation, but fundamentally, what all we're trying to do is to deliver a business outcome, right? Like, which could be, I'd like more customers, I'd like to convert more leads into customers, or whatever your outcome is, and then we just use the best tools available to deliver against that. Like, that's all you're basically doing. And it's like, whatever the best tool is for the job, we will just do that. So I don't think it's, from my perspective, any more complicated than that. In some cases, you don't need AI to do it. In some cases, you really need AI to do it. And it's just no more complicated than that. What is the focus of the business? Actually, I often find people ask me sometimes, Jack, I want to build this thing. And I'll ask why. And they'll say, oh, because we want to solve this problem. Okay, why you want to solve that problem? And you basically get down to what the actual problem is. And the thing they want and the thing they need can be completely different. So it's actually helping businesses understand the thing you want to solve. And then figuring the best tool for the job. And that could be AI, it could be automation led, or it could just be something completely different.
As far as industries, again, from your perspective, you're seeing it really high level, right? You're one of the pioneers when it comes to AI and AI implementation, developing so much content on YouTube for free for many of us, especially myself, to learn about automations, to learn what can be done to bring value to the business world. As far as businesses and industries, what industry do you see kind of rushing towards, they're taking advantage this technology, AI, and what industries are kind of lagging behind? You think there's an opportunity to bring a lot of value?
I think it's a great question, actually, Sergio. So I would say, generally speaking, the adoption rate, and we don't have a lot of data on this, right? But if you think about it, industries that are slow to adopt new technologies generally will be laggards in that sense as well. Do you see what I'm saying? So it's like, if they're slow to update any new technology, so like some examples of that could be real estate, it could be medical. I mean, also any industries that are bound in very heavy regulation or things like HIPAA compliance or loads of stuff like that, generally speaking, they're not as nimble. They can't move and implement these creative solutions as quickly because they've got so much red tape they've got to cut through. As a general trend, you'll see AI adoption generally kind of match up sort of with whatever the adoption is for technology in general in that particular industry. There are some industries that have like a greater, more obvious use cases, right? I mean, like we saw like copywriting almost disappear overnight. We saw image generation design work, like had a huge, you went from being a full-time creator to basically what is now an editor, you edit AI. So some industries will just get revolutionized unless you make such a quantum leap in technology for a specific industry that it's like we can no longer compete. Then you see more accelerants. But generally speaking, adoption will match like however they generally adopt technology. So there's no. I've seen a lot of clients in education. Typically, anything that has a big focus on client acquisition, or for example, social media marketing agencies or people selling social media stuff quickly adopted AI into their business because it's so easy to accelerate that. They're already very close to those numbers as it is. But generally speaking, dude, I wouldn't really ever, decide to focus on an industry because I think it's underserved. I think everyone's got unique skills and backgrounds. Like you may have good experience in car dealerships or medical or, real estate, for example. I would do the thing that you know very well. They all need it to some degree or another, but they're going to have different problem sets.
Agreed. I think I heard Jeff Bezos talking about how AI, it's set up to be the most revolutionizing piece of technology in history, right? It's going to be an electricity moment where we have electricity. It horizontally affected every single industry, every single aspect of our life. So he sees AI doing the same thing. Is that your take as well? You think that it's going to be, is that deep?
Yeah, I believe it is. I believe it's more significant than the Industrial Revolution, definitely. But think about the widespread effect of it. Like I think it was like 1920s, 1930s, 1940s, where we had like, it was New York Times Square, it's famous photo, everyone's on horses. 1 year later, there's like 99 horses, one car. 1 year later, it's inverse, and it's all cars and one horse. So these technologies have a habit of just completely sweeping it. What people don't appreciate about AI and its adoption, though, is that we have these, if you think of them as individual silos of technological development, okay? Think about your voice AI, how incredible that's come. Think about video AI, think about text generation, all these different fields. Many of them are on a collision course with one another. For example, consider what happens when robotics meets voice. Okay, cool. Now we've got robots can talk to us normally, plus movement. And so, as these things start to converge, that the real world applications Yeah, they become more evident. I don't think enough time has passed for us to know whether the improvement of AI at the moment is a linear curve or an exponential curve. Either way, if you track against where we're at compared to 2 years ago, it's quite remarkable. And also, if you think about, if you compare the AI trend to something else like cryptocurrency, you can get deep on that topic. But if you actually think about it, AI is the best possible industry you could be involved in, because we know for a fact this is actually driving pounds and pence, dollar and cents, impacts and benefits to businesses.
Yes.
And things like solving aging is going to be something that's going to happen within, I believe, 2030. It's tough to say, but I certainly think before I'm 50, I really genuinely believe that. And like, we got all these incredible advancements to levels we couldn't even possibly understand. It's just going to be interesting to see. For me, the big indicator will be over the next 3 years. For me, if you can take a sense of what happens over the next 3 years, I think you'll be able to get a clearer view on it, because we just need to understand if it is exponential. And actually, if it goes from GPT-4 to GPT-4 4.1 and it's just kind of marginally better, then fair enough. But I'm really excited to see if it is going to absolutely blow up. And my personal opinion is it will. Yeah, because if you look at the power laws of compute and performance, you can see the correlations for yourself.
Yeah. It's definitely amazing. It's something that I'm experiencing, and you said, before you're 50. I'm almost there. I'm 49 now.
Before you're 70, though.
Yes. So for me, it's incredible to see what AI, people think like, oh, AI is going to replace the humans and stuff. I really see it that, yes, technology often does that, right? I remember seeing Gary Vaynerchuk here in the States. He was mentioning that, you know what also replaced jobs? Tractors, right? Tractors took people off the field, and this is what happens with new technologies. There is an aspect of job replacement, but what I see, and it's been my humble experience for someone that is really diving into this and trying to bring value to a specific niche, is that it's actually enabling professionals, right? When it comes to productivity and creativity and being able to offer solutions, because before AI and before no-code solutions, such as Make.com or N8N, there would be no way for a person like me, with all the experience I have in sales, in operations, when it comes to dealerships and other niches, to offer a solution such as an AI voice agent, right? That is there to immediately contact with the leads, have an intelligent conversation, qualify them, and is it's complying, right, with any compliance or any laws that is required to be followed within that industry. So. Yeah. It's incredible to see, because I've never experienced, certainly in my life, but even in history, I think we're gonna see more and more that gap is being closed so fast, because just, I would say, 6 months ago, I had no idea that I would be able to offer these type of solutions, practical, functioning solutions to small dealerships that are struggling with contacting their leads, right? They struggle with finding the right person to generate the right leads, right? Because again, it's very specific. We're talking about, again, it's everything is specific, everything is niche. Someone could argue that, but they already struggle with that aspect. And once they are finally successful, they are generating leads. Now there's the most important step, which is contacting these leads, having a conversation, and then bringing them into the dealership, right? A lot of industries, they struggle with that. It's like, we don't make a sale over the phone. We start building the relationship, we build the rapport, we do the qualification, and we need them to come. And now AI can 100% take that off their hands and be there 24/7 to have those conversations and book the appointments. So then the salespeople can really focus on what they need to do, which is build the relationships, take care of the customers, and make sure that they are delivering indeed what the customer is looking for. Would you agree with that assessment?
Yeah, 100%. And that's beautifully said, bro. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, no, it's incredible. Please continue.
Yeah. No, I was going to say, I think that's really well said. Yeah, it's interesting. It just enables you to it democratizes, if you think about it, access to epic technologies, stuff that used to have swaths of developers doing. You don't need that anymore. I mean, it's great to have oversight in some circumstances. Platforms like N8N and Make, decentralized, automation building platforms, enable you to actually connect the things you need to connect to deliver good value. Before, you had to be a freaking coder, developer. I mean, I remember at school, they basically said, if you don't learn coding, you're toast, you're done.
Yes.
A lot of people believe that. And it's just so funny how things change. Now it's like the coding language is English,
Yes.
So it's great because it just means that we can deliver value much quicker, and we're not limited. We've removed that constraining factor right now, which I think is excellent.
Yes, I share a lot of your content with friends and people that are interested in the same thing. And one that we thought was amazing is that, going back to what you just said, that the coding language now it's English, right? Because you can literally talk to a chat, talk to the AI, and we'll create a process for you. We'll create a flow. We'll create an automation.
It is. It's really, really freaking impressive. I mean, this is the thing about like the most important skill, I think, is the ability to acquire new skills. That's like the most important skill, because technology constantly changes and you can never get to a position where you become complacent. But the good news is it's just getting easier, which means that, you can get higher degrees of leverage for what's between your ears, which I think is a really good thing.
Amazing. Amazing. Awesome, Jack. So I guess the next question, tying back to everything we're talking about, where do you think the industry or AI, where do you think things are going to be in the next 2 to 3 years in a very practical way, considering what you're seeing today?
Okay, here's what I think. I think that the chasm between businesses that adopt and embrace AI culturally and those that don't is going to be distinct, where people who do not use AI, businesses that are not using AI, are going to really, really struggle to compete. I think the ones that have embraced the intelligence of AI, either internal AI consultants or external ones, are going to exceed. I think the application and possibilities are only going to increase, I believe, exponentially. And the beautiful thing is, as AI gets better, you ideally want a business that gets better as a result of that. So, for example, if you have a chatbot that helps customers and the AI gets 10 times more intelligent, your product gets 10 times better. So there's 2 degrees of value that I would drive. Number one is your adoption of AI in your business, right? Obviously, all standard business mechanics still apply. You need to be focused on the right things, focus on your customers, classic stuff. Second of all, though, is what I would call the AI alignment, not in the kind of like, is it in our best interest, but the business strategic alignment, which says that, do you have product flows that drive value to customers that if AI gets better, your product gets better? Businesses that get better by virtue of the models getting better, it's like a beautiful tailwind that pushes you forward. A good example of that is N8N or Make.com. If the actual models get better, their entire product is better because it can do more stuff. So that's the kind of hack, actually. I think this AI alignment in businesses, but also your adoption of it. So that's where it's going. Expect to be able to do more. Probably it's been said that 97, 98% of all work done on a laptop will be done with AI. What does that mean for you? It means you need to build a personal brand, value of authentic relationships. You've done a great job launching this podcast. I look to come back on episode 100 of it. Is, people want and will crave authentic, natural relationships. So it's going to change the way that a lot of stuff does. It's worth actually grabbing a coffee with the whiteboard and thinking about where this stuff is going to go for your business, because it is coming, it is happening, but there are a few strategic plays that you can make to set yourself ahead of the next sort of 5 or 10 years.
Awesome. Well, everybody, you have heard from the man himself, Jack Roberts. Jack, again, thank you so much. I appreciate your time. So for those that are listening or for those that are watching on YouTube, where can we find you? What are you up to? What should people be expecting from you, from the work you're putting out there?
Yeah, well, you can follow me on YouTube, Instagram, and we have a beautiful community if you want to take it to the next level. And what you can do for me is I'm focused on helping business owners and those who would love to sell to business owners to leverage AI to grow. So, and also just cool stuff I think is really cool and interesting. So yeah, you're very welcome to join the Swing Bobber channel, say hello, and I can chat to you there.
Awesome. I'll make sure to put the links on the description here. I would say it's my personal recommendation. I am very picky when it comes to those that are speaking about a subject. I usually, my wife likes to say that it's like, I'm not judgmental, but I am heavy, right? When someone presents themselves as an expert, I wanted to make sure that this person had indeed some experience. They know what they're talking about. And I can say, and I'm not only saying because you're here, I'm saying because I am really deep in the content and learning and watching everything Jack is putting out, and he knows what he's talking about. He's in the trenches, so go ahead and check his community, check his YouTube. A lot of value free on YouTube, teaching us how to do automations, practical AI automations, to bring real practical solutions to our day-to-day struggles as far as growing and scaling a business. All right, Jack, thank you so much. Any final word, anything you'd like to say?
That was very generous of you. Thank you, man. And thank you so much for having me on the podcast. It was a beautiful conversation, man. I really appreciated it.
Awesome. I look forward to having you back on episode 100.
All right, man. I'll see you there.
Awesome. Thank you. Take care. Thank you, everybody. I'll see you guys on the next one.